Dang it. Oh, no. Come on in. Because now it's time to learn, to cook, to taste. Hello and welcome to Taste, the cooking podcast where every episode dives deep into a different food. I'm your host, Cody Reiss, and the goal of this podcast is to try and help you become a more confident cook, to learn the intuitive side of cooking by listening to experts talk about the cooking principles and philosophies that guide them when they're in the kitchen. Now, you might know our guest today from the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen, his show It's Alive, the videos he's been making on his own or his podcast Lay It On. Our guest is BRAD LEONE. He's the best, and he's here today to talk to us about cooking food that you catch. So you went hunting, you went fishing. What's next? Just a content warning. The general idea is about hunting and fishing and processing animals after you've done that. So if that's something you don't want to listen to, you might want to skip this one. This is our 10th interview on To Taste. I think I'm going to take a little break, like a couple weeks, few weeks maybe, and interview some more people and then get back to it. But I'd be curious to hear, if you're listening, are you enjoying it? What do you want to hear more of? Who do you want me to talk to? Are the episodes too long, too short? Find me on Instagram, comment on wherever you're listening. I'll see it. Anyways, I hope you enjoy my interview with Brad. Okay, Brad. So today I wanted to talk to you about how to prepare food that you've caught. So to start with, let's say you just went fishing. You just caught a trout. It's in your hands. It might be taking its final breath. What's the first thing you do?
All right. So for me, you just caught this fish. It's going to be stressed a bit, right? Blood's going to be going, pumping. And with fish, the thing that when people say they don't like fish or it's really has a bad smell, it's usually because how it was handled and usually because the blood was left in it. And fish blood, or any blood for that matter, but especially fish blood, doesn't smell good, doesn't age well, you don't really want that hanging around. So if I'm catching a fish and the plan is to harvest it and to eat it, soon as I catch it, I'm cutting the gills. The gills for the folks that aren't familiar with fish, that's their lungs, right? So that's when you lift up that little plate behind their eyes. They have those really red, vibrant, pink, netty looking type of, they're called gills, and it's how the fish breathes. And they're not good to eat at all. Maybe some folks would disagree, but they're disgusting. No, I'm just kidding. So you go in there and you cut that. And I like to leave them in the water if you can and just let them bleed out. You want to get that blood out of the body as fast as possible. And you want to kill that fish as fast as possible. Always just bleed your fish. Kill your fish, bleed your fish, get it cold.
Right. And so it's in your hand. You cut the gills, you put it into water.
Yeah, I mean, if you're catching trout, man, you can just kind of put it right back in that cold water, let the blood kind of naturally pump out of the body. I like to keep if you can elevate the tail and have the head kind of down and let everything just kind of naturally just kind of flow out of the body.
That takes a minute or 2 minutes?
Yeah, with a trout, man, there ain't too much in there.
Nice.
And as it gets bigger, there's just more blood, right? So
yeah,
not too long. Even to say you're catching salmon, right? It's not too long. And then from there, what I really like to do, man, where I'm at now, a lot of folks, that's a lot. A lot of folks don't even do that, right? But getting that blood out, from there, I always gut my fish on the water. And I cut the gills out as well. All the gills come completely out. And I remove the gut and I'll cut the bloodline, which is like a dark little bloodline that runs on the spine on the inside of the cavity there. And I'll cut that and try to flush some of the blood out. But gills fully removed, guts fully removed. And then I place things on indirect ice, or I use ice packs with a little towel over it. I don't really listen, I'm kind of geeking out a little bit too. Ice is fine for the most part, right? You never want to put fillets in fresh water or on ice, so you want to get it cold, but you don't want things sitting in water.
Okay, cool. And just to go back a second, the gutting, you go from basically under the face to the tail?
No, not to the tail. I go right from where the gills start to go down from the body. There's where I call it, it's the beginning of its collarbone. You can cut from there, get the heart out and the whole tract, the whole, and all the innards.
You're just
and
pulling.
Then you go straight. Yeah, you're pulling. And then you cut a slit from that little collarbone area right to the fish's vent, as I think it's called in the scientific community, or the fish's butt, or the little butt hole. Just to cut right to there and take everything out, give it a good rinse, get all that out, and then I like to let it like air drip dry a little bit, air dry.
Scales on.
Well, trout don't really, it's not really a scaling game. But like with fish that do have, it is a scaling an issue. Yeah, man, I scale everything on the boat or in the water. It's such a pro tip, man. Like because it makes such a mess at home, and like and it's even easier to like cut. It's like why cut through the scales like when you're going, and like I geek out with it. I really like to fish, and I like to get all the scales off and have all the blood out and all the gills and everything dry and clean. And
cold and dry seems to be like the big words that stand out.
Yeah.
Let's say I've got a trout and I've bled it and it's clean and dry and cold, and now I want to cook it on the riverside. Is that the kind of thing where you would just like pan, oil, fish goes in, and you try to get the skin crispy quick and then flip it over? It takes like 4 minutes. Is that what you would do?
Yeah, with a little trout, man, you can't go wrong. Classic little salt. Some people even put a little flour on it, like the little simple like little salt flour, just butter, pan fried, hot, fast. Yum yum, delish.
Yeah,
don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's phenomenal,
like
Cody. Maybe throw a little aromatic in there. Bring a little cute garlic with you, a little sprig of rosemary, and then you're really, and it's easy. It's so stupid easy. The skin, listen, it might get a little soggy or something. It might not always be crispy, but the meat, getting that blood out, eating it fresh, it's hard to beat.
That's cool. All right, let's say you're out and you're catching a bigger fish, something that you wouldn't be able to, that you needed to store. You get home with a big fish that's cold and you want to keep it for a while. What do you do?
Yeah, let's switch a gear. Let's say, all right, we're now trout fishing. We're on my the biggest 18-foot boat you ever seen. We're on my little center console, and we caught a nice black sea bass. Unbelievably delicious fish, very abundant, aggressive, I believe. Maybe not invasive, but very, very abundant. And they're phenomenal eating. Ivory white meat, beautiful black skin with like these blue, like glow in the dark, like shimmers through them. And they're a bottom fish, fun to catch, great for all ages, and just grade A table fare. Scales for sure, spines for sure. I do the same process: bleed them, gill them, gut them. Before I gut them, I use have a couple different scaling. I take scaling very seriously, and I don't know, a lot of folks bypass it, man. So the black sea bass in particular, their fins and their spines that come out are very pokey, and also have a little bit of a toxin on them, which can be quite painful and quite irritating. So I have a couple methods. So one, I use these little Japanese brass-headed wood-handled, it's like beech or maple or whatever, and they're just like these little brass kind of milled teeth, and they're and you rub them on the fish and the scales go freaking everywhere, right? They work great.
Yeah.
My preferred method, especially on the saltwater or some of these bigger fish, I use, it's like ring. It's like a small ring over a small, bigger ring over bigger ring over bigger ring. And I think they're called horse brushes or livestock brushes. They have like the handles and they have like these the bands. It's like these little bands, and they have these like teeth, almost like these like not really sharp saw blades that are all like, that look like biscuit cutters, like, it's like you know what I mean? It's like and they're all on a handle, and they one side has teeth, and you get in there and man, that thing, scales just go flying, boy. This is like the best. It's my favorite, man. I do work with that thing, and I get all the scales off and the gills out, and then and then I'll pat it a little, hose it out on the boat. I got a nice little saltwater hose. I'll blast it all off, clean it, blast off the boat. Everything's clean. All the scales are gone, guts are gone, blood's gone, things ready to go, baby. I let it kind of drip dry for a minute or give it a little wipe on into the cooler. I'm kind of a geek, man. I usually just because it's easier and I don't have to buy it, but to be honest, I found it to be a pretty interesting little experiment. I'll tell you in a second, but I use ice packs, and I'll put them on ice packs. Sometimes I'll put a couple little towel down and just I don't even really do that too much anymore, really. But if you have like a sensitive fish like mackerel or something where the skin is a little more delicate or like a bonita or something like that, like even going directly on the ice can kind of like start to change the color of the skin. But I put them right on the ice packs, and then they're good to go, man. They're, you know, when I get home, I dry them off a little bit. I have the luxury, man. I built a walk-in fridge, so I hang them in there, let them dry, and it's awesome.
So you hang dry them.
Listen, if you got a fish that's scaled, gutted, and you put it in ice and it gets a little watery, not the end of the world, right? It's better than leaving it on the deck or on the shore getting hot and nasty, right? Like, not the end of the world. What you don't ever want to do is go, and you see it all the time on some of these like bigger operations and whatever. They'll be filleting these fish, you know, on dirty cutting boards, washing it off with fresh water, throwing it in the bag wet, and they hand it to you. And the fish is soaked. It's got scales on it. It's got fresh water on it, which it's, you know, even a freshwater fish, the inside of its flesh never sits in fresh water, right? It's like a seal, just like us, like they're waterproof little units. So like, Dan, you know, I mean, you're a Jeff, man. Like the food starts to get weird, and when you just let it sit in water. Especially saltwater fish, if you put them in fresh water, man, it like really ruins the flavor and the texture and everything about it.
Do you ever freeze fish? Like if you get more fish than you need for the night,
out of the cooler, off, you know, from the woods or the river or the ocean or whatever. I'll take some paper towels and I'll pat them dry and just because sometimes, you know, fish get a little slimy, get a little weird, you get little boo-boos and babas coming out of the whatever, you know, blood clot or whatever, you know. So you want to make sure, you know, even as thoroughly as I clean them. I give them a nice little wipe down, and you can either put them in like a wire, like a hotel pan that's like, you want them elevated. You just don't want them sitting in liquid. You want them to get them cold. If you can put them in, like, if you've got a tray or something, put them with the cavity down, or even have a little towel underneath them or something where they can drain a little bit, just so they can get cold and drain and dry and nice. And from there, man, you just bought yourself a bunch of time. If you have the space, I know I have a walk-in and I hang them, and we can talk about that in a minute or whatever. But like, if you think about it, I mean, like if you caught that fish that day and then did all the stuff we just talked about, and then go back and treat it like it's, you know, a bluefin tuna, and geek out and make sure that, you know, everything's dry and cold and clean and nice, you just bought yourself a week, man, at least, you know.
That's cool.
Because even if you go to a fish market, I mean, a week is being very conservative. But like, even if you go to a fish market, well, depending on the species, but like, even if you go to a fish market, right, and get like the good stuff, that thing's days old for the most part, you know. Like listen, sometimes you get some right off the boat, but like maybe that's not even always the best. I like, you know, like you like things to relax a little, you know. Like beef is you never get like, oh, we just killed it, here's your beef. Never, never, you know what I mean? Like so like there's a sweet spot, but controlling that quality of process from the kill to the market, aka your fridge or your plate, is everything, man.
I love that. That's a cool way to think about it. I think like in my mind, I was like, I need to freeze this, but I love the idea of like, if you store it properly and dry it and keep it cold, you can kind of come back to it throughout the week, take pieces as you need it, and you don't need to store it long term.
Well, I mean, depending on the species and stuff, and like, listen, I mean, you got a trout, I mean, or black sea bass, you're not really like carving away at it, like, you know, what I mean? Like, but if you have a bunch of them or something, or if you start getting into some bigger fish, freezing, I'm a big fan of. I almost prefer canning it more, but certain cuts and certain types of fish freeze really well. And that's a whole nother process, right? Like dry, right? Moisture is not really your friend. Air is not your friend. So like being able to process it nice, get it dry and cold in a fridge where it's not sitting in liquid or its own slime or nastiness, but like, you know, treat it like a little sushi chef, you know, like geek out. And it'll reward you, man. Like that's when people, when you say, for the most part, I don't like fish, they usually had a bad experience with, or I don't like, you know, deer, venison, or wild game or something. It's so gamey, it's nasty. It's because probably the dickhead, pardon my French, I'm sorry, it's a family show, but the person that, you know, likely, you know, mistreated it or didn't take the proper steps, and because listen, it's pain in the ass. you shoot a deer, you catch a fish, it's getting cold, it's getting dark. It's easy to leave it in the truck till tomorrow. But but no, you laugh, but like people do that a lot, man. And like it really jeopardizes the, and listen, there's wiggle rooms in certain things, but like respect from, like, there's a cliche saying is like, after you catch all the tuna or all the fish or shoot the deer or all the birds or whatever, like now the work starts, and like it's true, man. It takes hours sometimes,
Yeah, I love that. So I it seems like cold and dry is a good place to start. And you mentioned canning and like what are the options from there? Like what are the preservation options that you think of? Like there's canning, people make like.
Well, listen, right, Cody? Yeah. I mean, it's nothing new, right? It's just this old shit we're talking about. We're talking about food preservation. So there's smoking, salting, right? There's the curing processes of those. There's freezing, which is relatively new for the most part, depending on what, culture you're talking about and where they're living. But pre-refrigeration, there was canning and smoking and drying, and I make jerky and I freeze some and I pressure can some meat and fish, and that's a wonderful rabbit hole and awesome culinary experience. And super, I don't want to say underrated, but really just amazing. It was same with vegetables too. Like it's just preservation of it in these old world ways, and then being able to utilize new technology to even do it better is great, right? Just like the internet now, like there's so much information about pressure canning or freezing meat or butchery that you can really learn a lot, and like once you know the principles, and just like with fishing and hunting, and get some confidence in your equipment and invest in some good equipment, it's not really that bad, like I do meat and fish all the time, like tuna and albacore and mahi and deer meat, and just do it in mason jars, and it's unbelievable, and it's shelf stable for like years if you do it.
That's great. Is it in a liquid in the jar?
No, it's in its own stock.
Huh. Oh, so yeah, please, like, walk me through pressure canning a little bit.
So it's a little bit. I mean, listen, this is a major rabbit hole of information, and it all depends on what type of product you're canning and stuff, right? Like whether you're doing a raw pack or a hot pack of your can. But anyway, what you're doing is you're putting your food in a sanitized. I use like Star Sanity on just jars, and good high quality food quality jars, or you can even get a hand seamer, which I'm going to buy. It's amazing, but they're kind of expensive, and you can do tins. But anyway, and you're just doing sanitation, basic sanitation. Google it. Don't leave it up to me. And and then have wash, clean, basic stuff, and then pressure can it, and then putting it to, you're just pasteurizing it. And there's a lot smarter people and people that are good at filling out shit than you and I, especially totally. Of all the numbers and times and pressures and all the stuff, all the numbers you need to hit for pasteurization, right? So we're just pressure canning things, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Vegetables tend to be a little bit easier, and certain acidities you got to worry about with certain things, but for the most part, I haven't gotten sick from it yet.
I have to say, you've gotten pretty good at your disclaimers. I'm impressed.
Thanks. Well, whatever, man. I'm no expert. I just, if you're worried about botulism, then don't fucking do it. I don't
totally. Or like
leave it up to the FDA.
Ask a doctor or something. Like how to do it.
Yeah, go see your doctor
or scientist.
Eat a fucking hot dog. I don't know what to tell you.
Right, hot dogs are good. So
good.
I love hot dogs, but that's a whole other episode. So. Okay, but pressure, I'm a little confused about pressure canning. Can you just like give me a specific example of, like, let's say you're doing albacore, like, are you just putting raw albacore into the jar, closing it and canning it? Or is it water?
Okay, so my recipe, yes, an old timer taught me, and this is the way I don't care. It might not be the right way, and it might be like illegal in the whatever, but right. But like, I think you're supposed to cook the meat first and put it in, right? Cooked, like bare, raw, plain meat, cook it until it's done, put it in, and then you can add a little olive oil or some salt or something. Right. It's called like a hot or cooked pack or something. Okay. I was taught, with the jar, I pack it as tight as clean. I fill it raw. and I put like a tablespoon or two of olive oil, a pinch of salt. Sometimes I'll put like a little bit of like dried herb or a little bit of like dried aromatic or something like that, some spice or something like that if you want a little heat or something, but very simple. And that's it. And then lids on into my American Standard, or no, those, they make toilets. I think it's called like American, it's whatever. It's like, I spent a couple $100 on it, but it's like a big RTD2, whatever that guy's name was, can. And it's just, you know, you bolt this thing up and you stack all the jars in there. You fill it with a little bit of water. You go online, or I was told, you know, do 90 minutes at 10 pounds, I think is what the numbers are. I have a little notebook written down. But there's, if you actually go look online, there's all these numbers. You set your poundage, which is your pressure, and your time, and there's different times for every different ingredient. I mean, there's so much information out there. If you were to get sick, it's because you listened to some guy on a podcast ramble on and just didn't do your own homework. Like, there's all the data out there.
Does it come out the texture of like canned tuna? Is that what we're working with?
Exactly. But phenomenal, because it wasn't in some bumblebee tuna factory or even a good factory. Like, you think they're like hand cutting the gills out and bleed. I mean, maybe it costs you, but like for the most part, no, man. Like, and then it's fun. You know, you're able to take all the things. Let's just face it. Once you get pretty good at hunting and fishing, and if you're lucky, you start getting a couple trout or a deer or a couple tuna or a couple fish, being able, or you have a whole bunch of eggplant and onions that you grew. Pressure can it, man. Like, I got onions and eggplants that I do that are phenomenal. And like, you pop that thing open in the middle of the winter and you got like tomato sauce, or, you know, just whole cherry tomatoes that you pressure canned. Like, boom, add that to your braids or your little pho. Like, you're living the dream.
That's awesome. I've always actually been intimidated by canning, but I feel
everyone is. But, you know, if you think about it, that's also a relatively modern fear. You know, pasteurization of everything, and just everyone just being so scared of everything. And listen, and food can be, I'm not undermining food safety, but like,
you would never do that.
But like, you know, like microbiome and eating all your different types of stuff. And like, I don't know, like, I guess that's that's two different things, but like,
no, I hear you, man. I think
it's been around for a long time, right? I mean, how long have people been refrigerating? How long have people been drying hams in their cellars and, you know, and cutting mold off it? You know, I mean, a lot, thousands of years longer.
Of course. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I think it's like preservation is weird, and there's a lot of things to work through, like making cheese.
You do it yourself, right?
Totally.
And you do it yourself, especially when you get into like canning. Listen, every time it took me a couple of years to like not put some of my canned stuff in the fridge. I had 100%. There's 100%. It's definitely, it worked perfectly. Everything's great. But I'm like, for a couple of years, I'm just like, oh man, like, you leave something like fish out, and it's in a jar. You can see it. It's not always the sexiest looking thing, you know. And then you're just like, at some point, you're just like, all right, I guess we're just gonna leave them out, you know, room temp for 6 months and eat it. And like, boom, like once you like, then it's like, man, once you, and then when things go bad. I mean, you know this, when things go bad, especially in the canning or fermenting or food long-term, like, they kind of are, listen, like certain things like botulism and certain mycotoxins, like silent killers, but they usually have some pretty good indicators.
Some stank, yeah. That is really, really interesting. You're inspiring me to want to can.
It's amazing, especially gardening. Yeah, especially with gardening, man, where you have like bumper crops of things. You have all this zucchini or all these, whatever the heck it is, you know what I mean? Like peppers, you know, or tomatoes are great. You make a bunch of sauce and you can get so many tomatoes. I freeze them, and then I make big batches, and it's an easy way to get the skins off. The skins come right off once they start to thaw. So much easier than blanching them. Yeah. But anyway. And then you have like, you know, boom, it's work, but it's cool work, man. Just like hunting and fishing, like harvesting things, putting in the work and geeking. I like cooking. I know you love it. Like, and then being able to geek out and like build a little old world like pantry or something. Like, man, if you're like going out somewhere, like good, like homemade canned tuna fish is, Cody, it's fucking awesome. Like, it's unbelievable. And like eggplant with like garlic and olive oil and chili peppers, and just like pressure can it, and then like right onto like your, like into your pasta dish. Like, it's really good.
Damn, I want it. I really do. I mean, that's another bucket list. Like, it's like the future I imagine for myself. There is a pantry somewhere filled with cans, and I think I need to like start. I need to start building that future
Listen,
now.
I don't have like this big like larder of like
Right.
all this awesome. I have I got half a sheet, like two half sheet trays, like stacked with some stuff. Like,
I'm better than
but
nothing.
like I
Still.
like doing it, and I'm getting more and more into it, especially the meat. Like, there's a buddy of mine, Jeremy Charles, really amazing guy and chef up in Newfoundland, and I went on a moose hunt with him a couple of years ago, and it was absolutely incredible. And what they were doing was they would get together and make these like awesome like sauces or stews with these meats, like cooked, cooked all the way, and then putting them in these tin cans, sealing them, and then putting them in the canners and doing the same process of pasteurization and cooking. And they would do this. They would do this like with a moose, which is so much meat. So they would have wheelbarrows full of these cans. Again, these guys are amazing chefs. The food was so fucking good. You dumped out this can and you heat it up, and it's like this gourmet sauce with these amazing moose meatballs. And it's like,
Wow.
it's unbelievable.
I love that. That's so sick. Damn.
The meat is the next frontier.
I want to ask you about meat, the preservation of meat, but I'm also curious about, you love smoked trout, I know, and I'm curious, and I've always been intimidated by smoking too. Like, can you give me like a quick, just like, what's the principle of smoking? Like, how do I smoke? What do I need? Like, do I need a smoker? Do I need buy wood chunks and put it in like a hotel pan? Like, what's a simple way to smoke a fish at home? Maybe is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I said this 25 times, but it's kind of like anything, right? Like, you could make it as simple as you want, or go buy some fancy smoker. But really, it's like, smoked trout are so good. It's a great, let's just focus there. It's really, and it all starts with and just applies to anything we were talking about with the hunting and fishing and translating it into food. As much as what you do with it, that animal or that fish is a product of its environment, obviously, right? So it's only going to be as good as the atmosphere that you're harvesting it from, right? But what the heck were we talking about, Cody?
How do I smoke a trout?
Oh, yeah.
This episode of To Taste is brought to you by my Substack, To Taste. If you like this podcast, you might also like my food and travel writing. You can find that on my Substack, which is also called To Taste, and the address is Cody Reiss, CodyReiss.substack.com. Honestly, nowadays I'm putting a lot of my creative energy into the Substack, and I would be just so incredibly grateful and excited if you wanted to join me there. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but if subscribing to my Substack means that you're going to stop this podcast right now and go find my Substack and subscribe to it and never come back to this podcast, that would be a win for me. But, my friend Ben I don't think he knows how to read, and so he doesn't like the Substack. He likes the podcast, and that's okay too. But if you've been curious and you've heard me talk about it and you're wondering, oh man, I wonder if he can write things down too, now's a good time to check it out. All right, let's get back to my conversation with Brad. How do I smoke a trout?
Oh, yeah. So all right, so you take all those same procedures, right? You get it all clean and dry and nice and bloodless. And then you brine it, right? You get your favorite brine. I like a little maple syrup, salt type of solution, with some secret stuff in there. And you brine it for, a day or two or something. I'm always a little gray in that, but I think it's like a couple days, a day or two or something. 3 days. I don't freaking know. I do it different every time. And it's like where I really should dial that in. And anyway, get a good brine. Again, look it up, get some good brines. And then you hang it, let it get a little pellicle, let it air dry a little bit before you smoke it, and let that skin or the meat. I like doing trout whole with the skin on. So I usually requires a little bit longer of a brine than say or if you were to fillet it or butterfly it, where the meat is exposed and everything kind of gets in a little bit quicker than just the cavity or the skin. So a whole trout, couple days for sure. And then, you figure out, get your percentages, look it up, and then you let it get a nice little air dry, little pellicle formation, little setup, and then smoke it, man. Low and slow. And yeah, it's just that skin it renders out and it gets like sucks onto the meat and the meat cooks perfectly and gets a nice little smokiness to it. Smoked trout is so good.
How do you, I mean, you might not have the answer to this, but how do I smoke a trout without a smoker? Do you know any like easy, quick,
Well, I mean, you can
like,
use grills and stuff, right? Like offset. I mean, listen, a smoker is some really simple technology in theory, right? You have a heat source, preferably indirect, meaning that you're not like just cooking right over the wood. You want to use a hardwood, not like pine or something clean, you know, you don't want to be burning garbage. Nice little hardwood to give off some little smoke. And you want to have it offset, meaning away from it or in a different chamber. You could pipe it in or something. Or you can just do it in like a kettle grill and then put a little thermometer in there and find your temperature you want to maintain, kind of low and slow. You know, you're not barbecuing. It's heat, but it's low heat and it's time. And like it's also like it'll preserve it. Smoke is one of the ancient preservations. That with that curing process of the salt that you did, that brine, that with I'm getting hungry, Cody. That with the smoke, it's just like it's phenomenal. And then and then once you get it off the smoker, I like to let it chill and relax a little bit and before you go putting it in a bag. You don't want it to sweat. Let it kind of temper back down before you. And then I like it. I'll eat one room temp or warm when I'm smoking them, but they're good cold. And then you can keep them in the fridge for a little bit for sure. Even vac seal them and freeze them. Some folks do. But I like to consume them within a month or something. But yeah, you could do it in like a Weber kettle and just offset it and just keep experiment. You know, it's one of them things where it's just like it's just a little smoke and heat. You could do it I've done it in a filing cabinet. You know, like
yeah.
I love the hang in it, especially with the fish. You know, it just gives everything just works out real nice, man. So like people build sheds and what a whole category of cool. Man, I'd love to like make a video series or a book. There are probably a ton of them of just like people's backyard rigs of smokers, like just like backyard ingenuity. Like we used to buy sausage from this guy in New Jersey, this old Portuguese guy. I think he was Portuguese or Spanish. I think he was Portuguese. No, he was Polish. No, he was Hungarian. Sorry. He was this old Hungarian guy. But what he would do cold smoked sausages and he would only do it certain times a year. And you'd bring him your meat, your venison and the pork, and he'd grind it up and make these sausages. And he'd do it outside where he had this like fire and he buried the pipe. He would only do it when there was snow on the ground or it was real cold. And he had a system to where he would make the fire and then it would go under the frozen pipe, get real cold, come out into a box where he had all the sausages hanging and he'd cold smoke them there. And they were so good.
Damn. Okay. I think obviously we're both hungry, but I think the last thing I want to know about is kind of that same process that you just described for fish, from catching it to eating it, but with like poultry, game, like red meat.
Yeah, sure. Same thing, to be honest. There's so many similarities in the animal kingdom, you know, like a rabbit and a moose and a chicken, not really all that crazy different. I know it might sound a little weird and like I mean, like if you're like they're very different, obviously, Brad, but like 4 joints or like 2 joints, you know what I mean? There's joints and muscle groups, and mammals and warm-blooded things have a lot of similarities. And then you get into fish and they kind of have some similarities as well too. But they all seem to have, whether you're killing pigs or trout, getting the blood out is kind of like a big deal, right? Like, so like say you shoot a white-tailed deer, which is like what I'm mostly hunting. Like you said, eviscerate, clean, get cold as soon as you can. In the cleanest that you can, you know, like I don't want and like think about it, slow down, come up with a game plan, come up for a game plan before you have this animal laying there, right? Like have your stuff squared away, the tools you need, so you don't go making a mess. So all of a sudden you don't have fish piss and all over your meat, or a deer guts and pee or poop all over what you're gonna potentially, you know, like. Don't screw it up.
Can you walk me through? You've got the deer there. You've just shot a whitetail.
Yeah. So I mean, when you approach an animal like that, hopefully you made a great clean shot and you heard it or saw it fall, man. Hopefully it didn't go 20 yards, 30 yards from where you had it.
Right.
And always keep an eye on when you make a shot, your excitement's going to be going. So much is going to be going on. You'll be amazed how much you don't remember and you black out from certain details. But the most important thing is to pay attention. Watch where that animal went. Pay attention, slow down. Wait for you. Anyway, that's a whole other category. But so you went down, you found the animal. Great. All right. You approach it, make sure it's dead, man. Or if you have to, be prepared to don't just go walking up with your Elmer Fudd, man. That animal could pop up and it can run, and you have a responsibility. Hey, because you want to, but you got to put the animal down if it's not dead. And you don't want nothing suffering. But anyway, so there's a lot of ways to skin the old rabbit, as they say. But essentially, from they don't call it event on a deer. I don't know what the hell they call it. I guess you get my point. You can start there, and there's all different methods and ways, but you want to get without puncturing, without disrupting. Hopefully you didn't hit any of the intestines or the gut or the spleen or any of that shit. Hopefully you just hit it in its vitals and it's bled out and died quick. And then there's a lot of methods and techniques and ways, but you just like a fish, you want to get from the butt to the gills, to the lungs, out of the animal. Get it all out of there and as clean as possible. Watch your knife work. You don't want to go in there. It's real easy to do. Go in there and scrambling around, nick this, nick that. Before you know it, you got stomach bile all over your tenderloins. No bueno. Otherwise, it's a perfectly sealed unit for the most part, other than that, very traumatic entry of whether it was,
right.
Of how you killed the animal.
Yeah.
But you get all that out, man, and then you bring it home and things wearing a fur coat at that point, right? So I hang it up and skin it out, which is actually a pretty cool. I know it sounds a little morbid maybe, but not really. It's a pretty awesome and like satisfying, I don't know, it's in your DNA, at least mine. I guess in my previous lives, I was a hunter gatherer or something. But there's something very rewarding about I don't want to say easy, but man, it's kind of cool to skin a deer.
I have skinned a pig one time, and I remember I was there when it was also killed. It was on the farm. And I remember there was a really big shift. It was it didn't feel like a live animal anymore as much as it felt like cooking at that point, where it's you're really present with this activity of peeling the skin off and
just going to the supermarket, getting a chicken, all that shit we just been talking about. Listen, getting in there and taking the guts out of it. I'm not saying everyone should or can or wants to, but at least know that's what happens every time you go
buy it
and get your pork or your New York strip or your chicken and fucking whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's getting all that's still every single one of those things had eyeballs and guts and all. It all had to go. It's that whole process and world.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so the it's hanging. The skin is gone. What's next? To preserve or cook it for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks it's cool out. I mean, back in the day, folks would just hang it outside, and still a lot of folks maybe still do, or in the garage or in the shed. And a lot of folks break them right down right there and put them in the freezer or grind them up, make sausage, and then put them in the freezer. And that's great, man, whatever. But you got to let it hang a little bit. Let that rigor mortis fall out. Just like beef, all beef that you get, it's all hung for a little while, more than people think. It's not fresh killed beef. Everything's mandatory hung a little bit. Rigor mortis fall out, especially on these bigger animals. Let the rigor mortis fall out, relax.
Is that a few days or?
Yeah, I think depending on the animal, maybe I'm not quite sure the actual numbers, but it doesn't take too long.
Cool.
But you let it hang out, and then from there, I've really started to geek out with the aging process, where I take the whole animal minus a couple of little muscle groups because they don't really benefit or need it, like the tenderloins. But just clean that animal real nice, man. Like skin it. I hose out the cavity, wash it out real nice, man. You want all the hair, any boo boo, ba ba, no, little blood, all that, man. Blades of grass, little. And it takes a while. Don't get me wrong. Like cut off any little funky little. I go in there like a freaking trauma surgeon, man. I'm cutting out any of the nasty stuff or the blood clots or the glands that you find, stuff like that. I really get into it, and I feel like you kind of, especially I'm eating it, man, and I've seen the difference in the quality and the flavor and how much easier it is for anyone, including myself, to eat something. It's so much more rewarding when you put that work in on that and on that step, especially when you're getting into what I'm talking about, which is hanging them. Like I said, I have that walk-in fridge, and I set up a good situation with airflow and humidity and the temperature where I can hang them for a few weeks, month up to a month, and they get a nice little bloom of mold on them, and the outside gets a little firm and little they call it like a crust or whatever, but like a nice little. But I get like beautiful like salami looking like mold growing on it. And then when it's time to harvest, you just trim that. And it's only like an 1/8 inch, not even an 1/8 inch of trim.
What's the time period? Like how long from
on a deer, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I've gone a little bit more, but
cool.
It's kind of like a little bit of a graph where it like you can go longer, but at some point I find like 3 weeks tends, depending on the animal, and 3 to 4 weeks kind of tends to be the sweet spot. Because it starts smelling. It smells like it starts smelling, and it tastes like dry aged beef. And then you just trim that little light bloom off, and then the meat is just like, man, it's like red, like trimmed, beautiful red, and absolute. It looks perfect. It looks like tuna meat. I mean, it's just like there's no funk, there's no rot, and like again, it took me a couple of years to really like build up my confidence with that as well too, and dialing in the humidity and really spending the time in that pre-hanging process of cleaning and butchery, of really just being very meticulous and how you're cutting it up and handling it. Because once you put that animal in there, if you're not, that's when things are going to get nasty and funky and spoil and go a boo-boo on you. Dirty knives or shit like that.
Yeah. So once you've trimmed it all up, like, are you cooking most of that deer from being hung, or are you like?
Yeah, so after it's done hanging, I'll process it. I'll make my steaks and couple roasts, and I'll make like the T-bones of it, so I'll age it on the whole body, and then like use a bandsaw or sawzall or a different hacksaw, and you'll cut like little ribeyes on the bone and stuff, like a veal rack. You can kind of I do the shanks, like the neck is a phenomenal cut, so you can do you can get your different cuts, and then like the bulk stuff, like a lot of the bulks, I'll make some jerky, do a lot of ground. I'll freeze 1 pound like chunks of just like ground meat. And then sausage, man, mix it with pork fat and make like really awesome venison pork sausage. And that stuff, it all freezes great. And then you cook, you eat the fresh stuff you want when you can and when you want to, because you're in a pretty good spot. And you can even start cutting off. Well, you could just cut and eat and go if you're hanging it there. But then you just have to trim more as things get more exposed. So I kind of just do it in one boom, have my like fresh meat that I eat for like, a few times a week for a couple weeks as it, when it's in the fridge. And then I'll have all my like processed stuff. And it's cool making sausage and grinding the meat up and having the different roasts and stuff, and making jerky is pretty cool.
That's cool. Damn, I love that. Well, it's crazy. I honestly, believe it or not, have more questions, but I think like.
Well, hold on. And this year with the meat and the deer, I'm going to get into pressure canning of meat. So taking these chunks of meat or making meatballs and then making putting it in sauce like that, and like having just awesome, red sauce or whatever profile, or even stew, or just like, I'm going to experiment with the meat game a bit more.
I love that idea. Brad, thank you so much for taking so much time. It's been like very inspiring to like
Heck yeah.
get a little window into like the process from start to finish.
Cody, you're the best, man. I miss you, buddy. I love chatting with you. And anytime you want to come out here and go hunting and fishing, I'll be your East Coast mentor.
I would be absolutely honored to have you as my East Coast mentor. You've been listening to Taste. I'm your host, Cody Reiss, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks so much to our guest, Brad Leone. You can follow more of Brad's adventures on Instagram and YouTube. You probably know who he is and what he's like. He's amazing. He's so funny, and he's so very much himself. He's just a tiny little taste of the wonders of New Jersey. Like I said, I probably am going to take a couple weeks off, maybe a few weeks off, do some more interviewing, some R&R, and I will hopefully be back before too long. Here at Taste, our art is done by Ben Bulgogi, and our music is by Justin Kohlberg of Moonrun. Thanks so much for listening. Talk soon. Bye.